Welcome to MathsBites, and in particular to this quick win on fractions for Year 3. This quick win has two parts, as I'm really conscious of the time constraints that you have. This video will give you the background to what they'll be learning so that you can support them in a way that aligns with what they will do or have done in class. Now, you don't have to watch this video, but I believe it'll help you understand the activities in the next video and know what to expect your child to be able to do and what may be too much too soon, but it is up to you. Now, let's get started. Fractions tend to be a scary concept, but after 30 plus years in the classroom, I believe that comes down to just two reasons. The first reason is that someone told them it was scary, but not in so many words, more in the attitudes towards them, which kids are quietly watching and absorbing. These memes often do the rounds on social media, which our kids hopefully don't see, but it's an example of what I'm talking about. The second reason is that a deep understanding wasn't built before something new was introduced. And because new concepts are built on old ones, if the understanding isn't solid, everything feels really shaky and unsure. But it doesn't need to be that way. So let's fix it. Firstly, I'm going to mention the New South Wales curriculum because that's where I've taught for the 30 plus years of my career, but the big ideas are universal. Fractions have been spoken about and investigated since kinder through the concept of length. Your child will have folded paper or ribbon, for example, to show halves and quarters, and then they move to eighths. They may have been introduced to fractional notation in Year 2, but this will still be very new to them. They've done lots of discussion building the idea of a fraction. In New South Wales, there are two big ideas that they will cover. The first one is creating fractional parts of a length using techniques other than repeated halving, because up until now, repeatedly halving has been the main way they've created the equal parts of a length. The second big idea is that of modelling and representing fractions and their multiples to complete a whole on a number line. In the Australian curriculum, they'll learn very similar concepts. And if you're somewhere that doesn't use either of these, that's okay. These activities will work perfectly for your child wherever you live because, as I said, the big ideas are universal. So let's have a look at some of the aspects of fractions to look out for while you support your child. Firstly, while your child may have seen written fractions before now, Year 3 really is the first time your child will be officially introduced to the fractional notation and be expected to use it and understand it. Also, before now, they probably will have been talking about equivalent fractions, although not in those words, because they've been looking at and discussing halves, quarters, and eighths prior to this, and the opportunities definitely would have occurred for them to look at these aspects. But this is still a very new concept, so we need to go gently. Next, a lot of kids tend to view fractions as two unrelated whole numbers. So rather than defining a fraction using the notation, fractions should be viewed as a comparison of the part, the fractional part, to the whole. By working out how many pieces, such as quarters or fifths, are needed to recreate the whole, this highlights the relationship between the numerator and the denominator. Now, again, they don't need to know those words at this stage, but they will come across them. So rather than read the fraction as 1 over 4 or 1 out of 4, it's important to use its name, 1 quarter, or 1 of 4 equal parts, with the latter helping to build the mental image. Fractions will continue to be represented by partitioning or splitting up lengths before being represented in other ways, such as a fraction of a square or a circle, because this helps them measure with the parts of the whole length. And then they map these to number lines, which helps when it comes to comparing fractions. Creating fraction strips, they're just strips of paper, for thirds or fifths is tricky though, because the process can't begin with halving as it's done with quarters or eighths. So this means that your child may need lots of practice in folding paper strips or drawing shapes to build that mental image that will allow them to visualize and estimate these fractions. Having to adjust the parts to create equal parts emphasizes that they all must be equal and that the parts must form the whole. Okay, Now you have the background to what your child will learn and some of the things to keep in mind as you support them. The next video will give you simple activities and discussion starters so that you can use them to support your child's learning. See you there.